pressure towards if you're Triple H as COO and Stephanie as the principal owner, because right now you have nothing to look ahead towards or to fall back on for WrestleMania 32, which is expected to be one of the biggest draws for WrestleMania in years, considering the venue being in Dallas, Texas, in a stadium that will seat over 90,000 fans. You've really got to be feeling a lot of pressure as the COO of the WWE. You kind of really be second-guessing yourself at this point, because there's nothing really creative going on in the WWE, because the people who are being pushed are probably wrestlers who deserve pushes years ago, who you should have pushed maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Obviously, you should have pushed King Barrett when he first won the 2015 King of the Ring tournament on the network a couple of months ago in matches with the likes of Neville, who are very promising superstars who should be in line for pushes, who are obviously not in the way of Bo Dallas's and Adrian Neville's, who never get opportunities because they keep going back to the same 3 or 4 wrestlers all the time. When Seth Rollins, prior to his injury, was on top, they obviously played favorites with him. They obviously played favorites with Randy Orton. They obviously played favorites with Kane, because Kane was a loyal ass-kisser of the Authority for months on end. So they finally gave him an opportunity to do this whole anniversary thing with The Undertaker, which obviously didn't go the way that I had hoped, with Kane turning on The Undertaker, setting up for Kane versus The Undertaker. Sting versus The Undertaker didn't fall through with WrestleMania. Another fault and decision of Triple H, which was absolutely ridiculous. Really was hoping for Kane to pull the heel turn to set up for Mass Kane versus the Dead Man Undertaker for the first time in years at a WrestleMania. That would have been absolutely fucking perfect. That would have been awesome. We didn't get the Sting-Kane feud because of Sting's neck injury, which would have also been awesome. There were a lot of things that Triple H could have done, but never gave us as wrestling fans, which is why I'll reiterate it again. If he listened to wrestling fans more than what he chose to do, and has chosen to do over the years, I think wrestling would be far better off and be more enjoyable to watch as wrestling fans, because what a difference 10 years has made on professional wrestling. We've gone all the way from Vince McMahon being the evil chairman and promoter and the leader of the corporation, feuding with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, all the way to idiots like Seth Rollins and The Miz, who are only on top because they annoy us and they're being paid to get on our nerves, obviously doing their job really well. But I mean, when we want to see people like Bo Dallas getting over in WWE, who should be long in line for a push for WWE but never gets that opportunity, he's obviously over because he's selling t-shirts and selling merchandise, and people are buying in to being believers of Bo Dallas, being fans of him, supporting him all the time on Twitter with photos and videos, actually sending in photos of their animals, wearing dog tags with Bo Leave marked on it. I mean, it's amazing. Photos of themselves wearing t-shirts of Bo Dallas. So obviously Dallas is over, but Triple H and Stephanie are ignoring the fact that Bo Dallas is over because they believe people like Wade Barrett and Rusev are over in an alliance with Sheamus, which is something that probably should have happened if it was going to happen years ago. Years ago, Sheamus should have been champion like he is now, but obviously WWE just put him on the back burner because they didn't believe he was ready for a push with the company, because of the people like Seth Rollins coming up through the ranks and this Roman Reigns guy, who I'm really irritated by, and the fact that he could be in the WrestleMania main event this year and possibly a triple threat match with Sheamus and John Cena. Ridiculous, is it not? I think really there's nothing WWE has to fall back on because of all these wrestlers on the DL. Can't ever remember a time when we've seen so many wrestlers on the DL with neck and back and knee injuries, some of the more severe injuries that anyone could sustain in their wrestling career. Sting breaking his neck, Randy Orton with a shoulder injury, gone for a number of months indefinitely, and we've got Seth Rollins blowing at his knee because of that freak power bomb that he chooses to use as part of his move arsenal, which you really got to consider taking out of your move arsenal if you're going to be making a full-time return. Seth Rollins tweeted just days after his surgery that he would come back stronger and better than ever before that we've ever seen him, but it's unknown at this point in time when Rollins will resurface and reemerge in WWE, and it's believed that when he comes back, he'll be against the Authority, or this international alliance, which I've chosen to refer to them as in the wake of Survivor Series, which is just the remnants of what's left of the Authority, which is obviously Triple H and Stephanie as the COO and principal owners, and we've got people like Sheamus, Rusev, and King Barrett making up for the loss of what the Authority once had. Preferably, I preferred the original Authority over this new rekindled Authority, because I just think this is an Authority that's thrown together for the sake of keeping the Authority as a relevant part of the storylines, which is not really getting over with wrestling fans. And I don't think I'm the only wrestling fan who's not really a fan of this international alliance. I mean, who out there, if you're a wrestling fan, is actually a fan of this international alliance? Probably fans of the UK are more fans towards the international alliance, which could see Paige jumping ship from being just a member of the Divas Revolution to this international alliance. Really, if you're a fan of the UK or some other part of the world, you're probably a fan of the international alliance more so than an American or Canadian fan, because this is just something, in my opinion, that's just thrown together to get wrestling wrestling fans talking, which obviously it is getting them talking, but is getting them talking enough in the way that WWE wants to see the conversation exploding about the International Alliance? I don't think it is. And I don't think wrestling fans are really into something like this as they were of a Daniel Bryan for the Yes movement around WrestleMania 30 time when Daniel Bryan overcame the Authority and battled them for months to win the championship. I think more people enjoyed that than what they're enjoying seeing the International Alliance because of the fact that it's just thrown together and it's a lack of creative energy. I think WWE creative and Triple H really need to get the creative juices flowing to get more credit given to them for what they're doing. With WWE, again, he's just making decisions to benefit himself rather than the everyday wrestling fan who obviously has no input on the business, just, gets in on the conversation on social media, wishes their opinion and their voice could be heard more than what it is. But I mean, you're one of a million wrestling fans, so who really cares what your opinion is at the end of the day? That's the way they choose to look at it. But I choose to give wrestling fans more credit than they're ever given because wrestling fans are some of the smartest people within the business. And I swear to God, if there ever was a creative board meeting featuring wrestling fans, and wrestling fans had a significant amount of input on how the creative direction of WWE actually went for, say, 4 or 5 months, I think wrestling would be a far better place and a far more enjoyable thing to watch every week, week in and week out. We'd have more to talk about in the way of conversation throughout social media, on Facebook and Twitter primarily, and wrestling would just be so much more fun for wrestling fans to get involved with, because I think there is a time to be a wrestling fan, but the time to be a wrestling fan is when wrestling is actually far more unpredictable than what it is right now. Usually around WrestleMania time, that's when you expect things to pick up for professional wrestling, but it never usually does because wrestling is just so dull most of the time. At least 85 to 90% of the time, wrestling is just so dull and does not offer us as wrestling fans what we want to get out of the product. And because of that, conversations at an all-time low, ratings are down all the time, pay-per-view buy rates aren't as high as what WWE probably wants them to be and wants to admit for being, and it's because of just how the creative energy is just not there. The creative input is just not there, which is why I think wrestling fans will be far better off being in creative control than what the people are currently in control of WWE for doing right now, because it's just ridiculous the position wrestling is in. I can't ever remember a more precarious position wrestling has ever been in, a more precarious and jeopardizable time than what we're faced with this close to WrestleMania 32. Is this really the direction you want to be headed in this close to an event like WrestleMania 32, an event you're expecting to be the biggest WrestleMania of the previous 31 that we've seen? I don't think if you're Vince McMahon or Triple H, either one of those two individuals, you want to see this WWE be in the direction that it's in, headed into WrestleMania 32, this close to WrestleMania. What is it, 3 or 4 months we're away from WrestleMania, and this is the direction that we're headed in? Sheamus is your champion. He's obviously locked for WrestleMania 32 next year. We've got possibly a match between Sting and The Undertaker forthcoming, a future for Kane still being elaborated on, and I think there are more unanswered questions about WrestleMania 32 than there are certainties about WrestleMania. The only thing certain about WrestleMania this year is because of the 220-day reign of Seth Rollins and the emphasis put on Sheamus in the wake of Seth Rollins' injury, and the only reason behind why Sheamus is champion now is because of the injury to Seth Rollins. The only thing that's locked for WrestleMania, locked in, is the fact Sheamus will be champion. Whether or not he'll come out of WrestleMania still as champion remains to be seen. If it is John Cena who wins the Royal Rumble and goes to WrestleMania to headline it against Sheamus, or in a triple threat with Roman Reigns, who could find a way into the WrestleMania main event somehow between now and Fastlane, we could see a triple threat match. But regardless of how it plays out, I think Sheamus is just locked for WrestleMania 32 with a great deal of uncertainty apart from that heading into WrestleMania, which is something we really don't want to get out of this as wrestling fans, because people are trying to decipher now what sort of direction we're headed in for WrestleMania 32, because there are more people filled with uncertainty in terms of the direction this close to WrestleMania, which I really can't blame you for feeling towards WrestleMania, because we've seen far better setups for WrestleManias in the past. I mean, WrestleMania 21 and 22, with how disastrous of setups they had in 2004, 2005, 2006, had far better setups than what WrestleMania 32 looks to have this close out of WrestleMania. And that says a lot for an event where tickets went on sale back in September. Select seats have already opened up for WrestleMania in the wake of the sales of tickets going on sale last September. And with tickets on sale for WrestleMania and promotion underway for WrestleMania in 2016 in March or April of next year, I mean, is this the position you want to see WWE in, this sort of precarious position this close to WrestleMania 32? I think not. If you're either Vince McMahon or Triple H as the chairman or the COO, you've really got to put your heads together. You've really got to take a step back, reevaluate how you're running WWE, and just how everything is just going so terrible right now in this sort of time era, in this sort of time frame, this close to WrestleMania 32. I preferably would rather see Stone Cold Steve Austin or even Jesse Ventura running WWE as the COO. There you go, I said it. I'd rather see someone who's been commissioner or CEO before in WWE, general manager, something along those lines, rather than seeing Triple H run the company. The only option you have right now, considering the position that WWE is in right now, is to seriously reconsider hiring a new COO in WWE and giving Triple H a considerable amount of time off from the product to reevaluate himself and reevaluate his life and the choices he's made in his life, because I think a lot of his choices have been based on what he wants to see for WWE. And while I can find time in appreciating what he wants to see